Hello, good morning and good evening, depending on where you come from. Thank you, friends from all over the world. Welcome to join this webinar today. Now we're at the end of May and the COVID-19 has been affecting all of us for several months. So no matter you're in Asia, in America, or in Europe, the hospitality industry has been particularly impacted a lot. And we have been facing and dealing with the tremendous challenges caused by the COVID-19. But we all know challenges and opportunities are like two sides of the coin. They always coexist in any difficult times. So a more important or relevant question for us, for everybody in this hospitality industry is about which opportunities are out there and which directions we should be looking for. So with this in mind, in my school, the School of Hotel and Tourism Management of the Hong Kong Polytechnic University partnered with STR Share Center together to co-organize this webinar with the theme of global hospitality industry, challenges and opportunities. Today with me, it's, as you can see, Dean Chong from my school, Mr. Steve Hood, the Senior Vice President of STR and the Founding Director of the STR Share Center. And also my colleague, Dr. Henry Tsai. We're all here to bring you the views and the insights about the opportunities and the challenges in this particular challenging time. Okay, now please allow me to turn to Professor K. Chong to give his opening speech. Please join me to welcome Professor K. Chong.
Good morning, everyone. Good evening, Steve. Thank you for staying up late. Friday evening, I suppose, in your place in Nashville, Tennessee. And I'm very happy that many participants are attending this webinar this morning. I'm sitting in front of this beautiful skyline of Hong Kong. But in reality, actually, today there's a thunderstorm in Hong Kong. So I love this virtual background. As Dr. Qu Xiao mentioned, we came with this idea of organizing a webinar focusing on what are some challenges we are experiencing, what opportunities it is bringing to us. Life is such that we always have challenges, small, large challenges, but without exception, what I have learned in my life is whenever there are challenges, there are some new opportunities coming with that too. In our industry, we have seen many challenges. Financial crisis, 9/11 in 2001, the SARS outbreak, and another Asian financial tsunami, and so on and so forth. Of course, the global pandemic associated with COVID-19 is something very different. But nonetheless, I think there are many challenges that brings opportunities too. In the audience today, we have our students and our alumni, our industry friends from all over the world. The students, I want to also say this to our students. Due to the very unusual circumstances in Hong Kong, starting in November last year, we had to go online for teaching due to the social unrest in Hong Kong. That's an example. When we started teaching online in November, it was somewhat difficult to switch to that. And then this semester, which we just finished, the whole world has no option but to teach online. In many countries, earlier this year, they were trying to figure out how to do online teaching. But already in the case of Hong Kong, we had some experiences. And then we switched to online. And every day when I come to school, I have a habit of walking around the school. We have 9 floors in our building in the School of Hotel and Tourism Management. And I always like to walk around a little bit to make sure that everything is in order. When I walk into the classrooms, which is empty, obviously, I must say that I become very emotional without having our students in it. So it has been kind of strange that we have been finishing this semester without seeing the students in the classroom. But nonetheless, I think the global educational field is also learning new things. And that is how we can teach using blended mode, using online, face-to-face. That also brings opportunities. Why? For example, education in universities were previously seen as a privilege for a very small number of people. Maybe in the future, this will open up huge opportunities for improving more knowledge-based society anywhere, because education can be more accessible by a greater number of people. So this is an opportunity as an example. Also, our students, often I think our students are concerned about their career. Yes, our industry has been very much having difficulties, but also I think it gives new opportunities because we are retooling ourselves in education, and our students can also think about some other opportunities in Korea. In my conversation with my colleagues recently, we just found out very interesting statistics. Even in the normal times before this pandemic, among the top recruiters to our school, in terms of where our students are going to, of course, our students are going to hotel industry, hospitality industry, travel and tourism industry, event industry. But one of the largest recruiters for our students has been luxury industry, whether that being luxury brands, clothing, luxury watches, jewelry, etc. So if you think why this industry is interesting in our students, because basically our students are learning the tool of hospitality. So if you think about this, hospitality is a tool our students can learn, the unique setting of the service industry, how to communicate with your customers, deal with customers, managing customers, marketing customers. I think all these skills are very useful in many other industries. So that is an example of opportunities. Another opportunity that I think this pandemic has created, as I said, was the online education. In fact, even before this pandemic, our school has joined edX. edX is a platform developed by MIT and Harvard to offer this massive online courses, MOOC courses. We have developed something called MicroMasters in international hospitality management, where learners from anywhere in the world can register free of charge to take courses. And then if they want to take these courses for credit, so that they can use those credits towards a master's degree, there is a small fee. And that is an example of opportunities that is bringing together. For our industry, we are very pleased that we are working with STL, our partner in many ways. Especially, I want to thank Mr. Steve Wood, who has been so supportive of education, hospitality school globally, and particularly in many activities that our school has initiated. So I'm sure Steve will shed light on us about global hospitality industry, particularly focusing on our part of the world. And there are some glimpses of hope, and there are some new opportunities definitely forthcoming with the industry. That's good. Also, I want to add that one opportunity definitely forthcoming out of this crisis is how our industry is thinking differently. If you think about all the innovations, not only in hospitality industry, in any fields, innovations usually come during the time of crisis. So I think with this global pandemic, COVID-19, definitely our industry is becoming more innovative and thinking about what we call blue ocean strategy, rather than focusing on traditional way of marketing, traditional way of managing. we have to really think about new ways of doing business. So that is blue ocean strategy. So I think all this are bringing some new opportunities. After Mr. Steve Hood's presentation, my colleague, Dr. Henry Chai, will also present some educational opportunities for enrolling in our master's and doctoral degrees. I think this could be actually very, very good time for us to actually think about how we can invest our time and efforts for our future development in terms of education. I personally believe that education is the best investment one can make for one's career. So Dr. Henry Chai will bring us together with information about our school's educational opportunities. Then later, at the end of the presentations, I'll come back and sit together with Mr. Steve Hood for his presentation to participate in the Q&A interaction. And then later, I'll come back again after Dr. Henry Chai's presentation to answer any questions from audience in terms of educational opportunities. I want to finish my remark with my favorite quote. This is something I often recite to my students. And this is the quote of my favorite quote of Eleanor Roosevelt. You know, at the end of Second World War, when the world was in depression, Mrs. Roosevelt left this very famous quote. She said that the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Think about what that means. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. So I think we have to believe in our dream and think about how beautiful that dream is. And then we have to work to the dream, overcome whatever the challenges we have, difficulties we have, and then future is definitely us. So our industry will come back for sure and stronger, and there will be many, many opportunities for our students and our industry friends. So with that, I want to finish my remark. Again, thank you, Steve, for being with us, and I'll come back a little later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Chong. Thank you, and also for bringing up the Q&A opportunities for all of our participants. As Professor Chong just mentioned, there will be two Q&A sessions. One is after Mr. Steve Hood's presentation, probably in about 45 minutes later, and also after my colleague Dr. Henry Tsai's presentation. So Dean K. Chong will come back at both of these times to join Steve and Henry to answer your questions. And you are more than welcome to raise your hand to speak out, okay, in this webinar, or you can also type in your questions in the chat room, as many of us already, I say, saying hi over there, okay? So now please, let me invite Mr. Steve Hood, Senior Vice President of STR and the Founding Director of STR Share Center, to share his insights about the opportunities and the challenges. Please, Steve.
Well, thank you, Q. Thank you, Kay. It's great to be with you. Good morning, everyone. I appreciate everybody participating on a Saturday morning like this. It's great to be with you all. Wish we could be together in person, but we definitely have learned that we take that for granted much more than we should. So hopefully we'll see you all soon in the fall. Look forward to being able to see everybody face to face. But this is a great alternative and of course a great topic to be talking about. Let me start off by sharing my screen. And hopefully everybody can see that. Can everybody see my screen? And let me go ahead and start
yes.
the PowerPoint. Perfect. So the topic, like Kay and Q shared, global hospitality industries, opportunities and challenges. Let's take a look at where we're going to be going in the next 30, 45 minutes or so. We're going to talk about challenges and opportunities. We're going to look at a performance update. We're going to look at some recovery slides, some comparisons, some lessons to learn. Then we'll have some brainstorming sessions at the end. Now, Q and K set a perfect foundation here for me, because as I was preparing for this presentation, I thought, hey, well, what will I do? First, I'll share the challenges and what are the various challenges that the industry is facing. And then second part, I'll talk about opportunities. Well, it's not compartmentalized. It's not as easy as that, because just like they shared, challenges coexist with opportunities. They're together. You know, a challenge is an opportunity, and you really can't talk about the challenges separately than the opportunities, because they coexist, and that's the whole foundation of what we're talking about here. With every challenge, there's opportunities for people who are, willing to look for them and willing to think outside the box. Kay's Blue Ocean idea was perfect, because that's really the thing that separates the leaders of the industry from everybody else. And so with that in mind, I'm going to jump in. We're going to take a look at performance around the world. As we do that, we will be talking about challenges and we will be talking about opportunities together. But let's take a look at the situation around the world right now. Starting off with this slide, we know that a lot of hotels are closed all over the world. Probably the biggest number here is Europe. If you look at Europe right now, and this slide is as of the end of April, 76% of the hotels, and this is by rooms, closed in Europe. Now, there's some other big numbers and other locations. There's some other 70s. Look at Asia for a second. Asia is at 38. Now, that's actually, that's actually better. If you looked back in history, you would have seen a much larger number in March. That number would have been larger than that in the 40s. North America, we're at 17%. Bottom line is, lots of hotels closed all over the world. Now, a lot of those closures, of course, are related to government restrictions. And this is as of the end of April. You see the red countries on this map are places where there are enforced closure, government restrictions that basically have closed hotels. Now look, in just a 3-week time period from end of April to middle of May, many of these countries, the restrictions have eased. If you look at Asia, you look at Europe, a lot of those countries have turned from red to orange, and now we're seeing restrictions are easing. Now, as those restrictions are easing, let's look at where we're at the end of April. The blue bubbles are showing actual occupancies. Now, these are very small numbers. If you know, normally occupancies around the world are 60, 70, 80%. And look at where we're at. Mainland China at 36%. That's a big increase, actually, over where it was in March. Rest of Asia at 19%. Europe at 11%. Americas at 24%. Very small numbers end of April. Now look at just the improvement in the last 3 weeks, and this data is basically as of last week in May, here almost last week, at week ending May 17, look at some of these numbers that have gone up. Mainland China has gone from 36 up to 45, big increase. Look at North America from 24 up to 32. Now, Europe has been much slower in the recovery, not really, not much going on there, just from 11 to 12%, very, very small, in other areas as well. Smaller increases that are going on. Where are we at at the end of May? This bubble chart shows all the markets that we track in the world, about 600 different markets. They are color-coded by the different continents, and it shows each week during time, and these are the weeks starting all the way back into January, you can see the distribution of markets. Now, there are a bunch of outliers, but the gray bars show the average, and you can see if we look at the total world, the world really headed down on average in March. Now, you'll see the Asia Pac bubbles headed down much quicker in February. They were heading down, but yeah, at this point, you know, if we look at a worldwide average, most of the world hit bottom by mid-March and has been close to bottom since then. But you'll notice the Asia markets have gone down earlier and are recovering earlier in this time frame. So that's a little bit where we're at as far as the world is concerned. Now, this is a set of charts. We have a lot of creative analysts at STR, and these are nicknamed the eyeball charts. And but they're interesting. They show markets, and the different colors are by occupancy. So red is below 25%. Yellow is 25 to 50 actual occupancy. The blue, the light blue, is 50 to 75, and green is 75 to 100. Now, the first four eyeballs, and we're going back in 4-week time periods, back to February, then March, then April, then May. So we're going back in running 28, 4 snapshots back in time. And look at the differences here. The first 4 eyeballs are for the entire world. So you see right now the entire world is almost all red. Actually, if you go back 1 week, it's almost all red. And this week, there's much more in the 25 to 50 color and very few in the 50 to 75. But Asia is different. You see Asia, if you look at the first bubble chart, you see, or first set of bubbles, you see, you know, a lot of red, and then in March 20, you see red and orange. In April, you begin to see some green appearing, and then much more green in May. So interesting set of slides, and as we mentioned before, we can get data like this for folks if you're interested, and just let us know more. Okay, let's drill down into China a little bit, and this basically shows absolute occupancy for China, and then we also look at Europe and US. Now, China headed down in January and hit bottom the 2nd week of February. The actual occupancy in mainland China was below 9% the week of February 8th. Now look what's happened since February 8th. The actual occupancy has slowly increased until last week. Just last week, mainland China had an occupancy of 45.4. Now normally that would be tragic, but when you were at 9% 14 weeks ago, that's not really too bad. Compare that to Europe. Europe went down 2nd, and you can see it hit bottom mid-March, and notice when it hit bottom, it was the last week of March, 1st week of April. It did go below 10%. It was 9-something, and it's only gone up slightly to 12% in that last 7-week time period. The US went down after Europe, just about a week after, but it went down, it hit bottom at 22%. Now it is risen slightly back up to 35% since then. So obviously the whole world is been impacted, but it is at different times. This shows those same slides indexed by start date, and you can see from this slide that China is really about 7 weeks ahead of the US and of Europe. And you can see its recovery pattern. US seems to be following slightly like the China recovery pattern. The next 7 weeks are gonna be important to watch, obviously. And of course, Europe, the recovery is much slower. A lot of those restrictions are still in place. They're just beginning to be lifted now. And that's sort of where we're at right now. Now here is a look at a little more detailed look. This is the daily data for China from the January time period up until just last week. We noticed that it hit bottom, like I said, end of January, and has slowly risen. You'll notice during the last couple weeks, it has seen some peaks and valleys. We see a clear weekday weekend pattern coming in here, much stronger occupancy on the weekends. We can see some of the holidays that have taken place, and we see Labor Day in there at the beginning of May, a big peak, but then notice in the rest of May, we've seen sharp increases on the weekends, which is really good news. You see people out traveling again. The transient leisure traveler is back, and we're really seeing that on the weekends. Now, I have a lot of China data in here, and we can go and drill into more detail about this. This slide here just shows for the last couple weeks strong occupancy when it comes to the mid-scale and economy hotels. The lower end hotels have they're the ones driving the occupancy. But you do see increases over the week, and you see all of them are increasing. All of the different scale groups are increasing. Now, when it comes to the mid-scale and economy hotels, they have regained about half of the occupancy compared to last year. They went down at the worst possible time. The mid-scale and economy hotels had an occupancy at about 25%. They've say they lost from the beginning of the event, the start of the worst the worst time in the COVID crisis. The luxury hotels have much more time or much more room to make up. Notice they went down to 5%, they're back up to 25%, but normally last year they were at 65%. So it's going to take a lot longer for the luxury hotels to make up that difference, and that's typically normal here. Look at this slide. This slide graphs separately in mainland China the first tier cities like Beijing and Shanghai, then the red, or the red graph, shows the leisure destinations, and then the green graph shows the provincial capitals. Now, what do we notice here? If we look at those over time, we see the green line has very strong performance. It's close to the 50% occupancy. So these provincial capitals, the traditional business cities, are showing very good performance at their, in those particular locations. Notice the leisure destinations, they spike very high on the holiday weekends. You see both of the recent holidays, they went up close to 70% for Labor Day, and they also spiked at the previous holiday as well. Let's take a look at Hong Kong. What do we notice? First of all, we notice big spikes on the weekends. Saturday, every week, jumps up significantly. That tends to be the peak throughout all of Hong Kong. But look at the various submarkets in Hong Kong as well. We're noticing that the surrounding areas in Hong Kong are slightly outperforming the more central areas, and that's a trend we're going to see in a lot of different places. They're operating at an occupancy close to 40%, where the central areas are down around 20 or 30. Now, one of the good bits of news in China is that most of the hotels have reopened, and that was something when we were talking to these hotels back in February. Many of them had closed. Almost half of the hotels in mainland China had closed, and we were hearing from those general managers that they might not ever reopen. They were very pessimistic. Well, look at the numbers here. Almost all of those hotels that were closed in February have in fact reopened, a very positive sign as far as the future is concerned. Now, we are seeing some postponements when it comes to hotels in the pipeline. Q was very interested in this, and this shows the fact that we're seeing a lot of postponements. Now, these are hotels that were under construction, that were in planning in various areas of China. We are seeing some postponement. It could be worse, though. It's not, that's to really be expected. Let's talk about the holidays. We mentioned both of the recent holidays. Look at some of the resort destinations. In the first holiday, we saw big spikes in some of these resort destinations, occupancies at 50 and close to 70%. More recently, during the Labor Day holiday, look at what we see here. This particular lake resort destination for the May 1 through 3 weekend had occupancies close to 95%. Basically, they were full at this destination for the holiday weekend. And look at the ADR. ADR was triple what it normally had been. Again, look at the May 1 through 3 holiday for the region of Hainan and the submarket of Sanya. Both of those were at occupancies in the close to 70%. Big numbers, especially when you think about the location of this particular area. This is not, an easy place to get to. It took some work to get to these destinations, yet people were willing to travel, and you saw big increases in demand. When you look at Sanya during the most recent weeks in May, what do we see here? Look at the purple line for occupancy percent change, and you're going to see that Sanya is actually in growth mode. In other words, the occupancy this year is greater than the occupancy last year, just in the last week, and that's fantastic news. We're seeing the fact that it's bouncing back. When you look at other places, here's Suzhou, and here we see strong performance at the luxury end. Now, this is a populated area, but we're seeing high-end hotels doing well during this holiday season. That's great news. You think about it. Now, I don't have the ADR data here. This was just the occupancy data, but in some cases, this could have been due to discounting. But the good news is those luxury hotels are seeing an increase in business during this particular weekend holiday. Look at some of these other resort destinations. We see increases. Now, one thing we're watching carefully is the premium between weekday and weekend. Generally, remember, the industry thinks about weekday as the business traveler, weekend as the transient traveler. We all know that in a recovery scenario like this, the weekends are going to tend to recover quicker than the weekdays. So we're closely watching the premiums. Places like Sanya, that lake, all are showing significant increases on the weekends compared to the weekdays. Now, eventually, the group business will catch up on the weekday, and we'll see that increase as well. The other thing we're watching closely as we're analyzing this data and looking for opportunities and looking for lessons to be learned is the difference between city center and surrounding areas. And in a couple of these examples, we see that the surrounding areas are tending to have higher occupancy than the city centers. Now, that's a bit of a, there may still be some concern about the urban areas in terms of safety, much less concern about the surrounding areas and even the smaller cities like we saw when we looked at the provincial capitals. Look here, comparison of Ningbo city center versus surrounding. Big occupancy differences between those two areas. That's definitely a pattern we'll be watching for the future. So those are some slides on China, just to give you an idea of the what's going on, some of the positive signs we're seeing, and some of the lessons that we're learning as far as China is concerned. We're going to go around the rest of the world real quick and look at some other areas and what's going on in the other areas of the world. I show you this slide, and this actually steps back to the beginning of March when things in China and Asia were at its worst. If you look at the markets in China here, and we're looking at a Revpar percent change number, so this would be, remember Revpar is sort of a combination of occupancy and ADR, and it's a percent change, so we're looking at big negative numbers. The markets in China here, look at Sanya, that's at a negative 91. Other major markets close to negative 90, negative 88, negative 87, negative 86. And here at the beginning of March, you saw where this event was beginning to spread from China to the rest of Asia. You see Singapore at negative 57, Tokyo at negative 47, and you see just the beginning of this event. Now, I have a whole lot of slides on Asia, and I don't mean to gloss over that. If you'd like more data on Asia, don't hesitate to let me know. But I did want to share with you some positive signs we're beginning to see. For example, look at South Korea. We're seeing very big spikes on the Saturday. Why? Because that's the leisure traveler getting out on the weekends. Notice even during the holiday weekend, during the China holiday weekend, big spikes there, and occupancy close to 50%. Look at Vietnam, very heavily reliant upon tourism. And what are we seeing? We're seeing spikes again. That weekend business is coming back. So we're beginning to see the tourists out and traveling again. Let's take a quick look at Europe. One of the big stories in Europe, of course, is the fact that many of the hotels have closed as of the end of April. Look at the percentages around Europe, and it's interesting to see very few areas of Europe have been immune to this. News is the actual occupancy. Look at the number of single-digit occupancies for these major markets throughout Europe. Lots of single digits, very few outliers. London is probably the highest at 23, a couple other outliers as well. Europe is really hurting. But the good news is it's just beginning to come back. Slowly, restrictions are lifting, businesses are reopening. Here we see airlines beginning to come back to capacity, you know, announcing tentative plans to get their planes back in operation, back on these flights. Governments around the world, these are around the world, are really facing pressure to help jumpstart tourism, and the hotel associations of countries, the tourism organizations are really putting pressure on the governments to help. Some positive signs that we're seeing in Europe. This is UK. The last couple weeks of May had a number. In UK, they're called bank holidays. They're on Mondays. But what do we see? The weekends that had these long holidays, it made it a long weekend, a 3-day weekend, had very high occupancies. Now, the areas in the UK that we're looking at are resort areas. They're areas near the beach, and they're areas in the in the mountains and park type areas. Strong occupancies during these big holiday weekends. There was positive news from Airbnb as far as business on the books, reservations. The article, this was a tourism official from Portugal talking about bookings for Algarve in Portugal, and people saw that as a COVID-safe destination. I did a webinar recently with a bunch of professors from Portugal, and they were saying the very same thing. The Algarve, now, but think about the Algarve. It's a resort destination, but it's not a high-profile destination. It's a smaller, sort of a quieter resort destination. But also think about the location. It's a drive-to destination from places like Lisbon, Porto, Madrid, and again, these types of destinations The ones that are a little more accessible, the ones that are a little smaller and you know, appear to be a little safer, those are going to be the ones that are going to see, you know, the possibility of recovering quicker than some of the high-profile destinations. So instead of going to the French Riviera, I'm going to go to the Portugal destination instead. Markets in Europe, we track business on the books. In addition to the historic data, we track reservation data for the future. We see in some of these markets throughout Europe, we see business on the books during the summer, you know, July, August, September, and then into the fall. So, you know, in some areas, the business on the books this year is comparable to the business on the books last year. A real quick look at numbers in the US. And let's take a quick look. This is Revpar percent change. So again, we're seeing negative numbers. Revpar, the combination of occupancy and ADR, the R7 means running 7. So this is basically weekly data. And it is correlated with the number of cases in the US. Now the US hit bottom the second week of April. April 11, it got down to negative 84. It has slowly trickled up, and it just went above negative 70, up to negative 69.9 if you couldn't get any closer. So we are seeing slight increase from the bottom in April. Now let's look at last weekend in the US. Last weekend was a big holiday. It's called Memorial Day, and during that 2-day holiday, that 2-day weekend, we're just looking at Friday and Saturday, the US occupancy just for those 2 days reached 40.3. Now remember, it bottomed out at 22. So almost halfway up when you just look at that weekend. But look at the biggest destinations to learn an important lesson and to see, you know, again, we're seeing an opportunity. If you look at these submarkets in the US, I would guess that you might not know any of the names of these submarkets. You aren't seeing destinations like New York City or Miami or LA. What are you seeing? You're seeing Myrtle Beach. I mean, that is a small beach destination. Daytona Beach, a small beach. Savannah Historic District, a sort of it's on the East Coast. It's you know, history kind of location. Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge. We joke about that. Actually, Kay will tell you, if you talk to Kay sometime about Gatlinburg, he'll tell you a funny story. He actually had a project there. But it's a small city near the Smoky Mountains, which is one of the most visited national parks in the US. Those are the type of destinations that are seeing big increases in occupancy. So think about the opportunity there. It's not the major markets that are seeing the recovery. It's these smaller and most of these are drive-to destinations. People don't have to get on a plane to go to these different locations. They can drive there. They're smaller locations. People feel safe, and we're seeing that around the world. And I'm just using, you know, you saw that in China as well. So again, we're thinking about the opportunities here. I show this just to show the differences based upon location. When you're looking at occupancy, which type of hotel have the lowest occupancy? It's the urban hotels, which have the highest: suburban, interstate, small town. And those are going to be the ones that are going to tend to recover quicker. The urban, the resort, the airport, they're going to take a little more time. Extended stay hotels are doing well all over the world, and their occupancies tend to be bigger. They're being utilized much more for, you know, various reasons. Occupancy is complicated right now because in some cases you have medical workers staying at these hotels because they don't feel safe going home. Some are being used by the government. Some are, you know, contracted by hospitals. So a lot of different uses. So that's a performance update around the world. If I miss your particular area of the world, please forgive me. I have more data if you'd like. I'll be able to try to help share some of that. But before I finish, I'd like to just show you a few more slides here related to recovery, some comparisons and some lessons to learn, just to sort of finalize what we're likely to recover first. What hotels are likely to recover first? Think of what we said. Domestic is going to recover quicker than long haul international. We've seen that over and over. I'll show you a slide in a minute that emphasizes that. So those drive to destinations are going to tend to recover first. Local, accessible, those easy to get to locations are going to see quicker recovery. Leisure is going to recover before the business traveler. We're already seeing signs of that. You saw lots of signs of that in China. The weekends are gonna spike. You see in this recovery situation, we have a lot higher spikes on the weekends. When you're looking at that daily data, you're gonna be seeing zigzags for the next several months related to weekend versus weekday. Now, gradually, the corporate business will come back. The weekdays will increase, the group travel will increase, but it'll take more time. One of the things we're seeing already in China, we're seeing group business coming back at high-tech cities. That's important to realize. If I have a portfolio of hotels, I need to realize, hey, my hotels in the high-tech locations, they're going to tend to see group business return more than normal cities. So group business will come back, it'll be slower, and it will vary, and eventually we'll have international long-haul travel come back and come back to normal, and that'll take us all the way back up to normal levels of occupancy and full recovery. When people are thinking about a recovery profile, they tend to use different diagrams like this to demonstrate it. This is just one example, and this is related to Asia. You see the drop, you see a slight bounce back. Now, frequently in situations like this, you see a drag where it'll start the recovery process, but then slow down a little bit before it goes back up. Hopefully, there won't be a second decline, the release, but it'll just keep going up. That's more a modified version of this without that second decline. I think everybody's hoping for that. That second up is going to be the return of group business, air travel back to normal. We're thinking that's going to be 2021 and 2022. So this is sort of our best forecasts of what the future will hold for Asia. We see recovery in 2020, back to normal in 2021, 2022. We do our forecasting with tourism economics, and that's what together we're predicting for Asia. There are obviously lots of risks involved, and I'll share this with you. We don't have time to go through all those various risks, but there again, the risks are the opportunities. You know, look at the mice sector, and what an opportunity to think about meeting and events, and how can we do that differently? You know, how can we have events that have a virtual component and a face-to-face component, and have those together in one event? What an opportunity that we have here. You know, the fear of travel, how do we reduce that? The fear of being in a hotel, think of the possibilities, what hotels can do now. If there's ever a need for good digital marketing, if I owned a hotel, I'd have tons of pictures on my website of people, of my staff cleaning the hotel, of guests enjoying the hotel, socially distancing, but having a good time at the beach or having a good time at the pool. And I'd have those types of videos and pictures all over my website, so that travelers coming to think about staying at my hotel are going to see other happy people enjoying my hotel. Lots of opportunities when it comes to marketing and search activity. If there's ever a important time to do search engine optimization, you know, one of the big things, I was in a meeting recently with strategic people from Marriott and Hilton, and they were all agreeing that search right now is one of the critical things. You know, they're watching the search activity very carefully to see, you know, what areas are people going to tend to get back to, and they're really focused in on the search activity. What an opportunity for a hotel to really take advantage of that and really maximize their you know, search engine optimization. One of the things people are doing as well is they're looking back at history, trying to learn lessons from history. Now, this is just one small example of that, and this slide here takes a look at the U.S. hotel industry and compares the downturn in 2001 to the downturn in 2009. This is ADR percent change. What do we notice? In that 2001, the light purple, the downturn took 12 months to reach bottom, but bottom was only -4. It took 24 months to go back to the previous level. But in 2009, it took 19 months to get to the bottom, and the bottom was -10. Took 37 months to get back to the top. Now, a lot of that was related to ADR discounting. At STR, we can't give hotels direction and tell them to raise prices or lower prices or any kind of pricing guidance. But the lesson here is pretty clear. There was a whole lot more discounting in 2009. People are going to be watching this event to see what kind of discounting goes on, and if hotels have learned lessons from the past. The other thing that's important is break even, and this shows break even GOP for full service versus limited service hotels. Profitability at this point in time is going to be very important. And again, we're looking at the data. We're hoping that the GMs of 2020 have learned to run hotels more efficiently than in prior levels, and because you know, the GOP margins are really close when you're looking at occupancies that we're seeing here in 2020. Another important lesson. Group versus transient, we sort of talked about that before. We mentioned transient demand recovers much quicker than group demand. Notice the transient traveler here in 2009 bounced back in 7 months. So that's a quick turnaround. The group travel, the group business takes much longer to rebound, and but that transient demand is right around the corner, and you know, hotels need to be focused on that because you know that business is not far away, and you could see in places in China that business, it looks like it could be rebounding much quicker than 7 months. That looks like that business is rebounding in just a couple months. So, you know, we're thinking positively, but that rebound could be very quick, but hotels need to prepare for that. You know, think of it, if a hotel is a big meeting and event hotel, hey, they've got to reinvent themselves at this point in time because that meeting and event business may not come back till 2021. So they've got to figure out how do they cater to the transient leisure traveler and get them in their hotel because they need to, you know, they need to get that business from somewhere if it's not the group business. This is, I mentioned before, domestic travel versus long haul travel. We saw in 2009 that domestic travel was, you know, much less impacted than the long haul travel. So important to understand, you know, we're going to see, think about it, and you know, we're going to see people staying within their countries when it comes to travel. I was talking to a group, my last webinar just recently was in Switzerland, and we were saying we're going to see a lot of Swiss people visiting Swiss destinations, and that's going to happen in every country in the world, and hoteliers need to be prepared for that. You know, they're not necessarily catering to the traveler from another country. They may be traveling, they may be catering to the traveler from really close. And what do they offer that particular tourist? One of the positive signs we're seeing is travel intention. Every travel intention survey I see, the survey is at an all-time high. And you know, we did this survey in China back in March, and look what and think about it, March was a pretty bad time in China, and of the Chinese people that we surveyed, 50% of them said they plan to travel more in the next 12 months than they did in the previous 12 months. That's pretty impressive for Chinese respondents in the middle of March as they were looking ahead. But you know, where we're seeing, and I know I've seen some of our Asia presentations, and they have the term revenge travel. The first time I saw that, I said, geez, what does that mean, revenge travel? But it means pent-up demand. And so there's lots of indications of pent-up demand. Think about it, you know, when I talk to people, they've been stuck in their homes for 2 months, 3 months, can't get out. When they can get out, you know, hopefully there's going to be a lot of pent-up demand, and the hotels need to be prepared to cater to that and be able to respond in a meaningful way to those travelers. Could be new travelers than they're used to. Could be travelers from 10 miles away, 50 miles away, 100 miles away. It's going to be different people in your hotel. That almost ends my presentation. A couple resources. STR.com is our company website. There is a link on there where you can keep in touch with our COVID-19 presentations. We're doing these on a weekly basis. HotelNewsNow.com is our sister company. Lots of articles in there. It's a free news service. Lots of articles there about the coronavirus. And then I represent the Share Center. Now, if you're a professor or if you're a student, you know, we provide data and resources for schools all over the world. This slide just talks to you about all the data that we make available. We make data available for research, academic research, for student projects as well. Lots of different types of data. And then the other thing we do is we have online training available. Those of you at Hong Kong Poly, many of you have had the opportunity to take the CHIA. That's probably the most popular student certification in the hospitality and tourism industry. And then more recently, we've launched the Advanced Hospitality and Tourism Analytics, the CATA, and schools are starting to offer that as well. Again, it's an emphasis on analytics, and students complete a comprehensive industry quality research project, either a market study, an event impact analysis, an economic analysis, or a feasibility study. Great kind of training for students. They learn exactly what the industry is doing with data. And the cool thing about that is we've had great testimonials from students where they walk into their interview, pop open their laptop and say, hey, let me show you the feasibility study I did last semester at Hong Kong Poly. Incredibly impressive because it's at the same quality level as what's happening at that company. And we're hearing testimonials that those students are not getting out of the interview. They're getting signed before they leave. And great news, just one way we try to help and try to serve the academic community. So thank you very much. I hit it on the button. Exactly 45 minutes, and it's been great to share with you. Exciting time, like we said, challenges equal opportunities, and that's, you know, as tragic as this time is, it's also what makes it an exciting time, because this is really where you know, leaders become leaders, and that's one of the great things about Hong Kong Poly. What a great institution to you know, to practice that innovation and to see that kind of thing in action. Couldn't be a better place in the world to be going to school. Great to work with you guys, and it's always a privilege to be involved.
Thank you very much, Steve. Yeah, a lot of great information. Yeah, although you run slightly over the time, but I'm sure all the audience will appreciate all the insights and numbers you shared with us. As you can see, there are a few questions asked in the chat room. Can you say them? There are some questions specifically asked.
Whoa, yes. Sorry, Q. I thought I had 45. I'm sorry.
No problem. Yes, certainly. Probably you still have a few minutes to, you know, for you and Professor Chong to.
Maybe while Steve is looking at these questions, because I saw these questions, maybe I can comment on one of them, which is about airlines, because one participant commented that the air flight cost is very, very high at the moment. Whether that will happen also in the hotel industry, maybe not, because first of all, in the airlines, I think now the supply is very limited because airlines are not flying them. That is the main reason. But I think eventually airlines will have to loosen up. For full service carriers, they have the capability of converting to freights, the cargo flights. But all these low-cost carriers do not have that capability. They have no option. Whereas in hotel industry, hotels are real estate. It is grounded. It can be converted in the worst case to office buildings or apartments and so on. So I think the airlines will have less flexibility from their point of view. So I think eventually it's all about the economy. It's all about supply and demand. As the demand increases, I'm sure the airfares will be normalized, I hope. Second, about the new normal. You know, we are so used to this word new normal, but in my view, we are overusing this word, new normal. Yes, there will be new normal, but I can tell, maybe 2 years, 3 years, if this pandemic is over and then finished, and then we go back to some kind of normal, 2 or 3 years later, I bet many of us will forget what had happened. Sometimes we just even forget what we ate for lunch yesterday. So I think sometimes we are overreacting, but what is for sure is that in our industry, certain standards will change definitely in terms of hygiene and then sanitation, cleaning standards. I always use this as an example. 1982, there was a big scandal over Tylenol, the Tylenol, the fever suppressing pill. There was a containment of this Tylenol in the process of supply chain. 3 people were killed by taking Tylenol. That changed the drug industry entirely. Since then, if you buy this Tylenol or any kind of pills, there are double seals, plastic seals and safety seals. That became a standard. I believe that something like that will happen in our industry in terms of ensuring guests that you are clean. In our hotel icon, even before this, we always sanitized remote control or telephones in the room and put a ribbon saying that this has been sanitized. So that's what we call tangibilize, what we call intangibles. Our services are very intangible. We have to find a way to tangibilize. I think all the things will become quite common. Oh, that's my comment. Maybe Steve can add additional comment.
Thank you very much, Professor Chong. Yes, please, Steve.
Yes. Now, I'm sorry. I've been going through all the questions, trying to great questions from everybody, and going through. you know, I definitely agree. New normal. I mean, I think we're going to see people. I think we're going to see people, you know, change habits a little bit. I think, you know, I tend to do a lot of international travel myself just for work. Now I haven't been doing that. I'm, you know, in the next couple months, you know, my travel is probably going to be much more domestic. It's going to be, I'm going to be, you know, I'm going on a vacation in the near future and I'm driving, you know, I'm not getting on the airplane. That's going to be a change of habit. And, but, you know, you're right. 2 years from now, you know, I'm going to be back on the airplane, you know, doing the longer trips. Probably less than that. Probably 1 year from now, I'll be back and I'll have totally forgotten about this. Right now, it's a big impression on people, but I think it won't change. You know, it won't last long. As I shared before, I think you're going to have a lot of more domestic travel. Hoteliers need to be prepared for that and be marketing in that direction and looking for people who are much closer to home than normal. And you know, I would think, yeah, that's a, you know, it's a new normal, but I don't think it's, you know, it's the forever normal. I think it's just going to be a temporary pattern until things get back to normal. And just like Kay shared, it won't take long and people will totally forget about that and they'll be back to the old normal or whatever you might call that. Somebody had a good question about tour packages. I think, you know, again, I think the tour packages, you know, it's not going to be international tours that you're looking at. It's going to be more local tours. So it's going to be shorter distances. It may be, you know, instead of week-long tours, it may be, you know, long weekend tours. But you know, people will be able to go visit places closer to home that they may not have been to recently, and maybe they went there a couple years ago. They get a chance to go back and see it over again, see what's changed, and appreciate it again, rather than taking one of those international trips, as I said before.
Thank you, Steve. We have limited time, but I saw a question from more than one participant. It's about the students' major in hospitality and also about the internships. And Professor Chong and Steve, you both are working very closely with the students. Could you please share with your views on those two questions? They are highly related. Right, one is about the student major in the whole industry. How do they prepare them better? And the other one is how this whole COVID-19 pandemic would affect the internship in the short run, probably also in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think internships have stopped in our industry altogether, but I think still there are some new opportunities that are being created, even during the crisis. Excuse me. We have some students who are still undertaking internship at corporate offices. Sometimes they're working remotely at home and based upon some projects. Unfortunately, many employers cannot pay the stipend to the students for undertaking internship, but this will be temporary. And I think the most important is for our students to obtain experiences and get their hands wet. So I think even during this time of crisis, I think internship opportunities are still coming available. And our school has arranged our internship for students with organizations even abroad and working remotely from Hong Kong. So I think this will be a temporary situation.
Yeah, one of the things that we've tried to do, and Q and I have been talking about this, is to help schools by offering virtual internships. If you think about it, every school is around the world is faced with this problem. You know, internships this summer, if this was a summer, you know, if students had the summer off, you know, pretty much all of them are canceled. So one of the things we've come up with is the idea of a virtual internship. where students get hands-on experience working with live industry data to conduct one or more research projects. Now, they're getting very industry relevant experience. Their work, instead of working hands-on in a hotel or in a restaurant, they're working hands-on with industry data. And we're rolling that out with multiple schools around the globe. The students are doing, multiple projects. They can, it's very easy for a school to involve alumni, advisory board members, and get that industry input as well. And Q and I have been talking a little bit about the virtual internship concept, and so that's just a way we're trying to help schools when it comes to the internship issue.
Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you, Professor Chong. We are running out of the time, so we don't have time to answer all the questions, but there's one particular question I think is very relevant because we're talking about the opportunities, we're talking about the forecasting of the future. And I see the last question posted on the chat room actually is by Ms. Habina, a good friend from WTTC. It's about, hi, Steve. What are the variables that you factored for your forecast? I think this is pretty much everybody, including myself, would be very interested to know.
Yeah, it's very complicated. We do our forecasting with tourism economics, and I'll be glad to, if your passion is in the area of forecasting, let me get you in touch with some of these folks. They're great folks, and we enjoy working very closely with them. They factor in a lot of variables. Now, our forecasts, we just redid those in May. We had redone our forecast in March. The good news is the difference between March and May has gone up significantly around the world. So there was a lot of pessimism back in March when we updated that forecast. We do those updates on a regular basis, but we're looking at a lot of, those guys bring in a huge amount of economic data. Their whole passion is looking at all these economic indicators and trying to find the leading indicators. This is a very, very complicated situation because first, it happened very quickly. Second, it wasn't really business initiated. It was, health and help, it's a pandemic. It's very different now. It's impacted businesses, but, it's uncharted territory. People have not, we try to compare, originally people tried to compare this to SARS. That didn't work. Now they're trying to compare it. Now they're thinking, is this more like 2001 or 2009? I don't think it'll, I think it's unique. And so it is very complicated, but in any of these, if you'd like more information, don't hesitate to drop Q and I an email. We'll be glad to send you more data and get you in touch with people if certain areas or if you're passionate about certain areas like that.
Thank you, Steve. Sure, I will connect you, Habina, with you. And also, as far as I know our in-house, my school's associate dean, Professor Haiyan Song, the expert in the tourism economics. I know he's working with you with STR and also developing hotel performance forecasting for the next few years, right, on a global scale. Of course, along with many other tourism economics experts across the world. So I'm sure there's a lot of outcome we can expect from you and Professor Song, and we can connect Habina about this too. Okay, again, it's thank you so very much, Steve, for such a wonderful information, all you included in the PPTs and the Q&As, and thank you very much, Professor Chong, for joining the discussion and the Q&A session.
Thank you, Steve. Now you can go to sleep.
Yes, Steve, you don't have to stay with us. It's
thank you very much.
Really for you. Thank you. Bye-bye, Steve. Okay, everyone, now please allow me to introduce my colleague, Dr. Henry Tsai. the director of taught postgraduate programs of all of my taught postgraduate programs in my school. He will give us an introduction about our all of those postgraduate programs. And then if you have any questions, you can again post on the chat room. Henry and Professor Chong will answer this. Okay, Henry, please.
Okay, thank you, Q. Good evening, Steve. Good morning, Professor Chong. Colleagues, friends from all over the world, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. First of all, I would like to wish everybody stay healthy and stay well. So in the previous sessions, Steve has shared with us both the challenges and opportunities at regional and industrial level. And when there are challenges, of course, there will be opportunities. So under this precedented era of pandemic, it give us some time to reflect our past. And also, we were wondering about our future. So there will be opportunities at the personal level. So in the next 20 minutes or so, I would like to introduce our featured postgraduate program offered by our school at the Hong Kong PolyU to you. So give you some thought about, well, is it time for us to think about further education? Because there are different opportunities. One thing for sure is that education is never the last to consider. We need to always think about how to equip ourselves to prepare for the uncertain future. Okay, so now my PowerPoint, I'll share the screen. Great. Briefly, I will talk about our school. Our school actually just celebrated the 40th anniversary last year. I believe many of you, our friends, colleagues, have come to our Hong Kong to celebrate with us. And we started in 1979. We are actually into our 41st anniversary. And our faculty and students, we have more than 70 academics drawing from 22 different countries and regions. And currently we have more than 1,400 students from 50 different countries or regions. And we have a very strong network of more than 18,000 alumni. So you can see Hong Kong is a place where East meets West. So if you consider coming to Hong Kong to further your education, it's like you're coming to a mini United Nations. You can mingle, you can network, you can learn from different academics, and also learn from different students from different nationalities. So in the past 4 decades, with the efforts of our faculty members, the school, and also the support from our alumni, our students, the school has been recognized worldwide by different rankings. So as here you can see, we have different recognitions. So this is a brief introduction of the school. So now comes to our focus of today's presentation. We have various featured postgraduate programs. We have doctoral programs, we have Master of Science programs, and mainly we offer our taught postgraduate programs here in Hong Kong. And we also partner with Zhejiang University to offer our doctoral program and also one MSc program in Hangzhou, Zhejiang, in mainland China. So in the next few slides, I will highlight the program features and give you some introduction and also understanding of the program we offer and for your information. So because we have our Masters of Science program, generally it takes about 1 year or 31 credits to complete. And for those who have obtained the master's degree, they can pursue further to a doctoral program, our Dhtm, which is composed of 51 credits. and normally takes about 3 to 5 years to complete. Okay, here you can see I'll start introducing our programs in Hong Kong. As you can see, the Dhtm Doctor of Hotel and Tourism Management. And when I'm introducing each individual program, if you pay attention to the lower right-hand side, you will see there is a QR code. So you can scan the QR code and it will lead you to the program details of this particular program on the screen. So the Dhtm Hong Kong, we started the program in 2013, and the program features, it is like a doctoral qualification following the US PhD formats, and combine the coursework and also thesis with a strong research emphasis. And it's a good opportunity to develop tremendous international networks. And later on, you will see that our current student composition and also our alumni, you will see this is very diversified study environments. And as you can see on the right-hand side, we have 2 current students on the upper right-hand corner. You will see Bao. He is currently a provost of Dhtm University in Vietnam. And lower right-hand side, you see Maria as a finance director for Hyatt Place in Asia Pacific. And the program actually offers very flexible mode of study. Depending on your schedule, you can study in the program under a full-time mode or a part-time mode. And normally the class is offered in intensive block mode. So every subject will be delivered in two and a half day sessions for in each semester, and depending on your personal schedule, you will be able to take like 1, 2, 3 subjects, if you will. And we are looking for those academics, senior industry executives, senior staff in governmental and non-governmental hospitality and tourism organizations. MGH stands for Master of Global Hospitality Business, and this is a unique program. It's a tripartite program offered by the SHTM in Hong Kong in collaboration with Lausanne Hotel School in Switzerland, and also the Conrad Hilton College of Hotel and Restaurant Management at the University of Houston in the US. So students actually will take courses in 3 different institutions located in 3 different continents. And the students generally will be equipped with the strong insights in 3 different markets and also immerse culturally in international business environments. And we're looking for those who are motivated and talented students from all over the world, because the students will spend 3 semesters in 3 different continents. So, and also the young talents who want to develop their global perspective and also cultural immersion in the global hospitality business and environment. Locally, we also have 3 different Master of Science programs, International Hospitality Management and International Tourism and Convention Management. So this is a program that takes 1 year to complete. It's an accelerated master's degree. So with the strong support of 70+ faculty members here in Hong Kong, and students again can study in a mixed mode, full-time, part-time, depending on their own schedule. And at the end of toward the end of the study, students can complete either a thesis component or a group consultancy project to wrap up their study in 1 year. And another feature is that students who come to Hong Kong, they will be able to enroll in a subject entitled management practice. So they will have the opportunity to participate internship in Hotel Icon, our teaching and research hotel. And again, there are also multiple scholarship opportunities. We have the Academic Excellence Scholarship and also the Droy Scholarship to encourage students to study and also to give them some tuition relief. And we're looking for, because this is a master's degree, we're looking for future industry leaders or educators, as well as those who are interested in becoming academics in the future as a researcher in the area of hospitality, tourism, and convention. And another master's degree in Hong Kong is International Wine Management. So this is, the program is the first of its kind in the region, and is taught by leading academics, industry experts, and also uniquely by 3 masters of wine to ensure its relevance. So for those of you who are in this industry or who are aware of the wine credentials, you know, Master of Wine is the top of the in the category in the wine certification. And one features in this program is that there will be residential study trip to different wineries overseas for the students to have an opportunity to visit renowned wine regions in the world and increase their international exposure. So those who are involved in wine business and education are encouraged to apply, and also who are involved in hospitality, F&B, wine logistics, and tourism. And also, even if you are not in the wine business, if you're considering changing your career path or working in the wine business in the future, this is definitely one of the program that you might want to consider, or those who are wine enthusiasts can consider to apply. So we have a total of 5 postgraduate programs offered in Hong Kong, and this year's application deadline is June 30th, exactly 1 month away from today. And you can scan the QR code to directly taking you to the application website. We only accept e-admission, so you can take a picture of this. Or later on, if the slides transit too quickly, the session is recorded, you can always go back to the recording, or you can visit our university or school website for further information. So the first part of my presentation is related to the postgraduate programs offered in Hong Kong. Okay, here are some of the information to let you have a feel about, well, what are the classmates look like? What are the class composition looks like? The Dhtm in Hong Kong, the student composition in 2019, this is only the 2019 cohort. As you can see, the very particular cohort in this year, majority of the students are from the education sector or academics, but it doesn't mean that, you know, if you are an industry person, you should not apply. No, that's not the what we are saying here. Every year, the student composition will change, and we see the dynamics of the student composition. Some year we see more industry professionals joining us. Some years we may have more education background students joining us. And students actually tend to take classes with different cohorts, and you will have more opportunities to networking, to learn, and to mingle with other cohorts and other people from other industries. And we also have students from hotel, from tourism, from government or other related industries. This is the Dhtm Hong Kong. What about our master's degree? In 2019, most of our students come from the hotel industry, and also from others from education as well. And on the right hand side, you can see where they work. And again, our programs are of a mixed mode nature. Students tend to take 1 to 2 courses each semester, and some who want to graduate earlier they will study on a full-time mode. So they will take 3 or even 4 to complete their graduation requirement to graduate earlier. So here are some of our Dhtm Hong Kong graduates. So far, we have many Dhtm Hong Kong graduates, but because of the limited space, I only showcase 6 here. So you can see we have students, graduates from different continents of the world, from South America, from the US, from Singapore, from Thailand, from Korea. And here we have, you can see some of our MSc graduates in our Hong Kong programs locally and also from overseas. You can see where they're working. Okay, and here you can see some of the activities taking place in Hong Kong, the Dhtm welcome reception. During the orientation, they will come to our school to get to know our school, our faculty members, and the students and the program. And this is one of the feature subjects offered in our Dhtm course, Asia Paradigm in Hospitality Management, taught by Professor K. Chang, and students will take a overseas study trip to different locations within Asia. And this is our MGH, Master of Global Hospitality Business. Their study photos, their business trips. They have the HVS boot camp. They have the orientation day. And these are the real pictures of the class. And we also have the career day for students seeking career opportunities in Hong Kong. And the students also participate in the overseas competition. And these are the students who participate in Hyatt student competition in Paris. And these are the, on the upper left-hand side, you see the students of International Wine Management participating in the overseas trip to winery. And lower right-hand side, they have exchange program with Catch School in France. Okay, quickly, let's turn to our mainland programs. We also have our mainland programs, as mentioned earlier, in partnership with Zhejiang University. We offer the Dhtm China in Hangzhou and also Master of Science in Hotel and Tourism Management in Hangzhou. Our Dhtm China is similar, virtually the same as our Dhtm Hong Kong. The difference, major difference is this program is a bilingual program. So class are delivered in Mandarin and the materials are in both English and Chinese. And the second difference is the class is located in Zhejiang University in Hangzhou. So students will have class there. So the program, similar to Dhtm in Hong Kong, it offers opportunity to develop, for students to develop a truly international perspective, and also coupled with the mixed benefits of the Western and Eastern management style. We not only have the faculty member from Zhejiang University to teach the program, we also fly our faculty from Hong Kong to Hangzhou to teach the class. And it is a purely part-time mode study, a block mode. Students will study there intensively during 2.5 days, twice for each subject, and while continuing their current employment. And the goal is to develop new industry and academic leaders. In Mandarin is 学者型领袖人才. And on the lower left hand, you see the during the orientation, the students will come to Hong Kong to join the workshop. And this is the workshop, the photo taken during the orientation. And I believe this is the cohort of 2019. For MSc China, we celebrated its 20th anniversary this year, we started the program in year 2000, and it is amongst the first of its kind to be officially approved by the Ministry of Education of the government. So far, up to now, with in 20 years of history, we have more than 10,000 graduates from the program already. And this program is also delivered on a part-time modes, intensive block teaching, and also in bilingual formats. And one feature of the program is we have a overseas field trips. On the lower left-hand corner, you see this is the overseas field trip to Tokyo last July. And in the lower middle, you see this is the orientation picture taken last year in Hangzhou of the residential workshop. And for our mainland China taught postgraduate program application, the application deadline is the same, June 30th. And the QR code will take you to the application page directly. If you are interested in this program, please scan the QR code. And our Dhtm China student composition in 2019. As you can see on the right-hand side, the current students, they work in different major hotel, hospitality, and tourism groups. On the left-hand side, you see where they belong to. They work in hotel, tourism, education. These are the three major students' background. And here are some of the earlier graduates of the Dhtm China. You can see they work from different industries and also from different sectors as well. And some of them, I think they are also here in this forum. For our MSc China student composition in 2019 alone, very interestingly, about 75% work in the hotel industry. So the second largest group are tourism and also other sectors. Also, you can see they're working organizations on the left-hand side. And here are some of our MSc graduates since early 2000 to recently. They also come from different backgrounds, hotel, tourism, and they are now contributing differently in the industry. And one feature of our mainland program is our activities and also alumni network. In mainland China, school offer various forums and also events in mainland China. And when it is a very interesting scenario or phenomenon whenever there are forums or conference held in mainland China, when we call for alumni gathering or for a photo shoots, majority of the participants, they are either our current students or they are our graduates. So we have a very strong alumni network in the Chinese mainland. And here are also some of our programs. And the Dhtm started in 2013 in mainland China, by the way. Okay, very quickly, I introduced our taught postgraduate program both in Hong Kong and also for Chinese mainland. Very briefly, and if you are interested in know more about our details, you're welcome to contact me. You can see our contact information, phone number or email address, or our administrative support. For mainland China, please contact Ms. Annabelle Chen, and for Hong Kong programs, please contact Mr. Jason Chow, and we will respond to you in due course. So that's the end of my presentation, and now both Dean Professor Kei Chang and myself will take questions if you will have any.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you, Professor Chong. I think there is one participant, Cindy Chen, raised her hand when Henry was presenting. So can probably, I think, guess Cindy would like to speak out. Hi, Cindy, are you still there?
Hello, Cindy.
Probably she's not connected right now. Okay, let's say, how about the others?
I think everything has been so clear, no questions.
Yes, it is very clear. Yeah, particularly we have the QR code for all the programs. And I can say we still have over more than 100 participants online right now. So those are, I'm sure they're interested in our programs. And please.
Hi, Dr. Xiao. Hi, Ding Chang. Hi, Dr. Cai. I think there's one question from the chat bot asking about the postdoctoral program in tourism management.
Yes. Thank you, Maxim, for many years.
Sure.
Last one. Maybe I can comment. We don't have such a program as a standing program, but we do have some postdoctoral fellows working in our school. They are working on some specific projects by some professors. So when we have professors having a project with funding available, they will look for a postdoctoral fellow to work on specific projects. So you have to just watch out to the announcement for such opportunities. But as a standing postdoctoral program, we don't have one.
Thank you, Professor Chong. Okay, folks. For those of you who are still online, I guess most of you are in our region, right? Asian Pacific region. And I believe also online we have all the program leaders from the various programs. You have any specific questions or you want to ask any of existing alumni? I saw a few our existing students alumni names in the participant list as well. Please feel free to ask them. You can also post your question on the chat room. Okay, there's a question. Do we have partnerships with corporate universities?
I don't understand what corporate universities are, meaning perhaps private universities?
Yeah, Dori Davari, I think you're from Bali, right? Would you like to speak out?
Yes.
Hi, no, do you hear me? I'm Dori.
Hi, Dori, yes, please.
Yes, I'm Dori from Purdue University.
Hi,
Yeah.
wow.
Actually, some giant hospitality firms like Marriott or Accor, they have some sort of universities of their own where they offer master degrees. I know Accor Hotels school is called Inspire, and if I'm right, Marriott Hotels school is Mirage. So they offer programs. They claim they want to fill in the gap between the industry and academia. And as a doctoral student, I have realized some gap between the industry and academia. I recently saw on LinkedIn that Hong Kong PolyU is signing an MOU with, I don't remember, a hospitality firm, if I'm right. So what about specific corporate universities? That's
Yes, our school is working very closely with industry in many ways to enhance education, to improve the HR capability of the industry in many ways, such as executive education training, etc. But also we had experience of offering in-house master's degree to a particular company. The company is sponsored and they paid for all the tuition fees for the staff members to take a master's degree from our school. We simply went there to offer our master's degree to this group of executives. That is something we have done in the past, but we do not work with McDonald University or Marriott University in such a way. But we do work very closely with industry in many ways, especially in executive education, short courses, and so on.
And if I may add, Alibaba's logo captured my attention. Jack Ma is investing in education based on what we see in the news. Have you ever thought about?
I do not clearly understand.
Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, is investing both in education and in smart hotels. So have you thought about, just a suggestion, maybe there is a good chance to define partnership with him. Maybe define an honorary chair.
Yeah. Well, actually, we are working very closely with Alibaba because one of the divisions of Alibaba is Flaky, which is a travel platform in mainland China. In fact, many of the senior executives of Flaky and also Alibaba are currently students doing their doctorate degrees or master's degree in our school. We already have very close partnership with Alibaba.
That's good news. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, good morning.
There's a question about open house or something online webinar. This is online webinar. And then, as you know, the COVID-19 situation in our part of the world, at least, is in much more favorable than many other parts. So we just finished our spring semester. Our summer semester will start on 22nd of June. Some classes will be offered online. Some classes will be offered face-to-face. And even if there's online class, if the students want to come and attend classes, we'll be welcoming them. And we'll have to, of course, take some precaution measures, distancing the space, etc. And for the fall semester that will start in September, at the plan now is go back to normal face-to-face mode. Earlier, one participant commented about conferences in the coming semester. Yes, we do have. As announced, APEC CRE conference will be held in Hong Kong on 27th and 28th of October, and followed by another industry conference on 30th of October. That's called Impact 2020. This conference to analyze and also to make some suggestions to industry how we can create impact on our industry through the research we are doing in academia. I think that's very relevant, especially dealing with post-pandemic situation in the industry. So just stay tuned to our school's announcement through social media and other means, and you'll hear more about all these activities.
Thank you, Professor Chong. There's a question about the online doctor program. We have any plans to offer our programs online?
No, answer is no. We prefer not to, because at least for doctoral level programs, I think it's important that the education is not just acquiring knowledge. For my own education, for bachelor's, master's, PhD, not only just what I learned is what's important, but interaction with other fellow students, and also interaction with my professors over cup of tea or coffee. I think that really enriched my knowledge and perspectives. So I think from that perspective, I think to me, the higher level education cannot be completely substituted by online. That is my personal view. And I'm sure that's a view that we all share in our school.
Thank you, Professor Chong. From Kandapa has another question about, there will be a lot of transformation in the service delivery due to COVID-19 impact. What type of new skills development would be needed focused into curriculum for us to prepare our current students to fit the industry?
Yes, I think I'll answer this question. I think the purpose of a postgraduate program is to prepare students to tackle any challenges or to deal with uncertainties. And the education is not a magic pill to cure any particular issues like COVID-19. We're not teaching how to cure COVID-19 or the service delivery, how we do it. I think we want to create a learning environment with a mindset in the classroom delivery, the curriculum delivery, how we can prepare our students better, equip themselves to tackle different challenges. Because apart from COVID-19, for sure in the future there will be different challenges. So I think in general, I hope that our programs and also our students will be able to learn from the past experience and also capitalizing on the subject, the curriculum that we offer here, and for them to think outside of the box and to tackle all the challenges. I hope I answered the question.
Thank you, Henry. Yeah, Ms. Kandapa said yes, thank you. So I'm sure it's a very good answer. Other questions?
Yes.
I apologize for connected for a minute. So there was a question from Habina from WTTC. I was reminding you and then I get disconnected. So did we talk about that already? Henry and Dean Chong? Okay, there's another question. Dear Professor Chan, Dr. Tsai, do you still offer the HKPFS program like 2019? HKPFS?
Can you
maybe more? Yes.
Is it postdoc fellowship scheme?
I think the Hong Kong PhD fellowship.
Yes.
Yes, Hong Kong PhD fellowship scheme is the program from Hong Kong government to attract top students to PhD programs to study in Hong Kong, and this will continue. Currently, we have quite a number of students in our school who are enrolled and who successfully were admitted to that program. And so you may want to continue to pay attention to announcement from the school. So it's Hong Kong government's post PhD scholarship program.
Thank you. There's another question about the platform from SHTM to collaborate with the other, I assume it means the other universities of the other hospitality and tourism programs. Can you say
So
this one?
certainly, I think knowledge transfer is very important for us. Our school has been always advocating this idea that our motto of the school is leading hospital and tourism, meaning that we are not saying we are the leader, but we are certainly here to help lead the field through the transfer of knowledge by sharing our knowledge. And we are more than happy to share our own experiences. And then, so our field of hospital and tourism, education and industry continue to develop together. And also we learn from each other. Not only we share, but we also learn from other institutions. Every school I visit, I learn something new. And also, I'm sure that visitors to our school are learning from us. But on a more formal basis, we are participating in many such programs, knowledge transfer. One good example is in Saudi Arabia, one university wanted to set up a new degree in tourism, and then they came to us. They said that they made a visit to a number of institutions, renowned institutions in Switzerland or United States, and to explore. And they found out that Hong Kong PolyU model is more suitable to them. Why? Because this is Hong Kong's model is something very new. I always advocate this idea that when you are producing new wine, you have to put the new wine in new bottle, not in old bottle. So rather than just trying to reinvent what has been done or use the same model has been successfully used in many other countries. In Asia in particular, our industry is so different, culture is different. So you have to understand these situations and circumstances and create this unique program suitable for them. So we are very happy to share our experiences and knowledge with other institutions. So just let us know how we can support.
Thank you, Professor John. I was just concerned to know that whether we can collaborate for some kind of webinar series or some kind of knowledge sharing programs where we can add up our knowledge and also get the knowledge from, as you are the reputed institutions and you are one of the best institute of tourism and hospitality management. So we believe that we could get some information which will certainly help our academician in India as well. I'm from India. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, certainly we'll always welcome opportunities as far as our capabilities are available. And I think we'll be happy to consider all these new opportunities forthcoming. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all the questions. I know our session webinar is scheduled to end at 11:30, but now it's almost noon, only 2 minutes to noon. We appreciate all of you have been staying with us until this late. For a webinar, 2 hours is pretty long actually. And particularly Steve Hood from SDR already left us. We want to thank Professor Chong and Dr. Henry Tsai for all the great information and also your answers to addressing all those questions. The theme of today is the opportunity and the challenges for the global hospitality industry. Clearly, there are challenges in all aspects, but also opportunities from all aspects as well. Probably the takeaway from all you have just said is we should not overreact, but there are permanent impacts and we should be more innovative than ever before to deal with all those challenges and to capture the opportunities. Certainly, with all the barcodes Dr. Henry Tsai just showed and with all the links we have been repeatedly showing you, if you have any questions about our programs, about our School of Hotel and Tourism Management of the Hong Kong Polytechnic University, or you would like to ask more private questions to Henry, to Professor Chong, or to myself, or to Steve, please feel free to contact us by email or the other social media. You can find our school SHTM and also Professor Chong's Facebook account, Instagram account, and the Weibo and WeChat. They are all accessible if you search online. So I think now it's exactly 12 noon. So probably thank everybody again. Thank our speakers, and thank you for participating in this webinar. And I hope we will see you again soon, either face-to-face. Certainly we can keep social distance, but also virtually in other events online. And all the best. We hope to see you at SHTM by face-to-face. We'll welcome you to visit us.
Well, thank you very much, Q. And for participants, I want to thank you for your participation and sharing, and also asking these questions. And to our students and our industry friends, I want to say that please keep up well and stay healthy. And we'll see our industry continuously developing, and we'll be bouncing back. So just keep our hope high. So I think that's what I want to say.
Yes, I agree with what Professor Chang just mentioned. Thank you all to participate in this webinar, and we'll see you soon in person. And stay safe and stay well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.